Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Genius Podcast, where we explore best practices in 21st century leadership. Today, we're going to quickly set the topic, and we are analyzing the leadership genius of Andy Reid, head coach of the NFL's Kansas City Chiefs, as he prepares for a historic Super Bowl matchup against his former team, the Philadelphia Eagles, this Sunday in the big game. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the actual word, the super game that's going to happen this week. And what we tend to do in this series, in these leadership genius of, we take historical figures or current leaders that have demonstrated higher levels of leadership and something that we can glean from them. Now, again, like in politics, sports, whatever we analyze with a historical figure or a current figure, maybe even sometimes we've analyzed the leadership genius of future leaders, is that we don't take sides or we don't run from a specific platform. I'm not here to endorse the Kansas City Chiefs for winning this week's big game. What I want to do is just glean from the excellence that Andy Reid has demonstrated over the years as head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's get into the leadership genius of Andy Reid. Before we do so, I wanted to just do a specific acknowledgement of Inspire Software, who is supporting the Leadership Genius podcast. Inspire Software is a work technology platform that enables businesses to set strategy organizationally and then be able to implement that strategy, execute that strategy through a goal-setting methodology like OKRs, and then get it into a continuous performance management process, and then integrate behavioral science, best practices in leadership development and performance enhancement. And so if you're interested in checking out Inspire Software, please visit inspiresoftware.com, where you can learn more about this amazing platform that inspires leaders at every level of an organization. So why do I think it's valuable to understand, or at least talk about, the leadership genius of Andy Reid? I think there's a couple things that stand out to me about Andy Reid, and one of the most obvious, just in general, reasons to look at Andy Reid as a leadership genius is to just look at his body of work and see how exceptional of a head football coach he is. And that's going to require some levels of excellence in leadership. And I mentioned that he's the all-time winningest coach in Kansas City Chiefs history, as well as the all-time winningest coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. He has won 3 Super Bowls. He's been to, I believe, 5. I believe this is his 6th Super Bowl that he's been to. And coaching as a head coach, he's been an assistant coach in several other Super Bowls. And so I think that's one of the interesting things when you see somebody have that level of success in a professional sport like the NFL, is that it's interesting to look at some of the details of what makes this person such a good leader. So I've highlighted 3 key things that I think I see in just witnessing and observing Andy Reid's leadership behaviors over the years as an NFL football head coach. One of the most glaring things that sticks out for Andy Reid's leadership genius is his adaptability and innovation as a football coach. So Andy Reid is often known for these innovative, creative, offensive strategies, and he comes up with trick plays and unique plays and designs. Is just seen as one of the great play callers in NFL history as a head coach and offensive coordinator. Been a mastermind in coming up with offensive schemes that really adapt to the strengths and weaknesses of that offense, particularly around quarterback. So he's had a history of developing quarterbacks, which we'll talk about in a moment. But his offensive schemes have been described by opponents as innovative and creative and very difficult to defend against because you never know what's going to happen. And it's designed around being flexible within games. And so they make a lot of in-game adjustments under Andy Reid's leadership. That leads to the second main thing that I think is the leadership genius of Andy Reid is that his ability to develop talent, particularly around the quarterback, which is one of the most significant roles when it comes to NFL teams, is that Andy Reid has a long history as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach in developing the talents of that position and then being able to scheme to the strengths of the quarterback and avoid some of the weaknesses of the quarterback. He as an assistant coach really helped bring about the development of Brett Favre, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He was very successful in developing Donovan McNabb as a great quarterback in Philadelphia, and even revitalized Michael Vick's career after a long layoff of being suspended from the league. And when Michael Vick came back, Andy Reid really brought out the best in Michael Vick and revitalized his career. And then, of course, there is the current quarterback, multiple NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, who has brought great success to Andy Reid's coaching career by allowing a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes to improvise and come up with schemes in the flow of a game and be able to build game plans around his strengths as a quarterback. And so, this approach to developing players and developing schemes and talent that fits this mold and his style of approach has been one of his hallmarks over the years, is to be able to adapt to the changes in the team and bring in personnel that fits these schemes and is built around the excellence of quarterback play. Then the third and final piece that I think reflects Andy Reid's leadership genius is just his ability to communicate with the team. Andy Reid is sort of a player's coach. You had the dynasty of the Patriots in the 2000s and mid 2000s or early 2000s, where you had this very stoic, very rigorous head coach in Bill Belichick, versus the success over the past 5 to 10 years of the Kansas City Chiefs under Andy Reid's leadership, where he has a sense of humor. He's often in a lot of commercials with his players, product commercials, is very lighthearted, is seen as a great communicator within his team. So, really it kind of taps into a highlight of his emotional intelligence to be a very serious head coach in a very high stress league, but to keep a matter of perspective about things and keep things lighthearted within the locker room, lighthearted in his press conferences. And it seems to have created a positive team culture that has sustained success for well over 2 decades. So we wanted to do a quick shout out to Andy Reid this week as we prepare to watch the big game. And again, whoever you're rooting for, Eagles, Chiefs, you're indifferent. We wanted to highlight Andy Reid's leadership genius and his ability to adapt to the players and teams that he's coached and been the head coach of. His ability to develop talent, which is a very significant leadership skill and ties into what makes a leader a leadership genius. And then, of course, his effective communication style to be able to communicate those schemes, keep the culture of the organization moving in the right direction. And as Andy Reid leads his team to another Super Bowl this weekend, regardless of the outcome, His approach offers valuable lessons for us as leaders in any field, in business, at home, in your local community, that I think that is valuable to analyze and look at and see if we can glean any wisdom from Andy Reid's Leadership Genius. Thank you for joining this episode of the Leadership Genius podcast. Please like and subscribe, leave comments about what your perceptions are about the big game this weekend and any of the leadership traits from the head coaches, players, front office. Leadership does make a difference. We believe that the world needs more effective leaders, not only in the sports arena, in the political arena, but inside of homes, in local communities, and organizations around the world. Thank you for joining this episode of the Leadership Genius podcast.